Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday. As promised, I'm doing a thing on the Johnny Depp ruling. I have read the whole actual ruling. I am not going from uh news reports. I actually sat down and read the PDF of the entire, how long is 129 page monstrosity. And I am feeling a bit ill right now because it is a document in dysfunction. Um, it's an interesting ruling. It's going to be debated for quite some time. I do not believe, as I don't believe in any court case, it deals with the larger issues of reciprocal intimate partner violence. It in one place flat out says it doesn't matter if she hit him back. It doesn't matter if it was just a bad relationship where they were both pummeling each other. The exact words where I copy pasted a bunch of stuff. The exact words were, where is it? I've lost the document. It is not even of significant relevance to whether Ms. Heard assaulted Mr. Depp. That's right. In basically all the judge was trying to determine was whether there's a very specific wording in the case. Oh, by the way, if you like this stuff, I hate to shill in this case, but help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K. I will get to how this impacts gaming once I get through sort of my hopefully quick summary on this whole thing. There is a very, very specific, and it's interesting because the original version of the defense submitted on July 11th, 2018 was amended on March 6, 2020, so around the time of the trial. They changed their defense, their defense of truth defense to its very specific wording. The claimant beat his wife, Amber Heard, causing her to suffer significant injury and on occasion leading to her fearing for her life. That is all they had to prove to have a defense of truth. It is part of the law. It is part of British law that was amended as late as 2013. The Defamation Act of 2013 actually changed this to say if one or more of the imputations is not shown to be substantially true, the defense under this section does not fail if, having regard to the imputations which are shown to be substantially true, the imputations which are not shown to be substantially true do not seriously harm the claimant's reputation. What that basically means is it doesn't matter if they caught her in lies in other times. If the judge believes that if any of it is true, it stands as a defense of truth because, and this is another important part of this particular case, Johnny Depp and his legal team are not suing Amber Heard in this one. He's doing that in a Virginia court later. Oh God, we have to go through this again. He's suing a newspaper that actually wrote an article critical of J.K. Rowling and her status as a big defender of women. She's this big defender of women. How can she have, Johnny Depp as a main character in one of her movies? And one could argue, okay, this is why I think it's strange that the newspaper didn't argue fair comment in the first place. I guess they figured it would be better for their PR if they argued truth, but okay, the stuff with trans people hadn't happened yet with J.K. Rowling, but it is fair to question why she's so terrified of trans people using the bathroom that they feel most comfortable using, but she'll hire a guy with all these, scandals plaguing him. It is a fair point. I can't, as you guys know where my sympathies lie on this one, but in this particular case, I have to say, fair comment on behalf of on the part of the tabloid, right? We have to keep this in mind because legal cases are about specific things. Now, I do find a lot of the judge's reasoning punishing, but puzzling, not punishing. Maybe that's a Freudian slip. But basically, short form, all the stuff about what Amber Heard allegedly did to Johnny Depp, not only did the judge say he believed her, which we can argue, but he also said it doesn't matter. What I get from reading the whole thing is that, according to this judge, Johnny Depp is guilty of being a drunk, a drug addict, a jealous person with a temper. And because of that, the judge, on what they call a probability standard, that is it, basically what the judge had to ask himself was, is it more probable that, balance of probabilities, right? It's preponderance of evidence is another term, but they call it balance of probabilities. Is it more probable that guy got drunk, got stoned, got jealous, got angry, got in a rage, blacked out, doesn't remember it happened? Or is it more probable that the woman constructed a whole elaborate hoax to smear him and ruin him? When put like that, I can kind of see the judge's point. And this is the problem with settling issues of intimate partner violence in the courts. They have to make decisions like that. There's a lot in the ruling about the use of the term the monster. And this is the part where I start going, this... My big issue, moving on with this and how this applies to gaming. The other thing I should point out is one of the things... There were a couple of legal mistakes from what I read. Some of the things, the Depp team brought up text messages that showed contemporaneously that Johnny Depp was telling people that Amber Heard hit him. First of all, the judge said, doesn't matter if she hit him. Also, it apparently didn't line up with one of the 14 incidents in question, so the judge threw it out. The judge also threw out, and I think this part is actually fair. The judge threw out the accusation of gold digging, that based on conversations between them and conversations they had to other people, the judge basically believed that she legitimately loved him. It was a legitimate relationship. She wasn't just after him for his money, which, okay, I think is fair. It's not that simple, and obviously they went too far in that theory of the case. Now, I do think, and this is where, like I said, we get into, there's a bunch of other things. I could spend a lot of things talking about all the little odd details in this case. We have to keep in mind that it's a civil case. It's a defamation suit, not a criminal case. So the beyond reasonable doubt doesn't apply here. And I think that's part of the reason that people are getting so upset. Because she has essentially accused Johnny Depp of a crime. I mean, violence is a crime. If you smack someone in the head multiple, that's a crime, right? That's assault. But it was never taken to a court. It's being tried in the court of public opinion. A lot of people have issues with that. Now, a lot of people also recognize that domestic violence cases often don't make it to court. So, this poor judge has to make a decision knowing people are, on one faction or another, are going to be horrendously angry at him if whatever decision he makes. Now, that being said, I admit, disturbed the way he threw out the counseling tapes where she admitted to hitting him because they weren't under oath at the time. Even the judge said that's trite. It's trite reasoning. But again, we have to go back to the fact that Amber Heard was not the defendant. The Sun magazine was the defendant. And basically what the judge ruled is that enough of the whole thing was true for the Sun to win on a truth defense. That's basically his reasoning. I find some of the ways there was a better way to get there that didn't invoke stereotypes regarding abuse dynamics, stereotypes against people dealing with addiction. There was a way to get there that he didn't take. And this is what I want to spend the rest of the time talking about. And I'm doing this because this is how it connects to gaming. I know a lot of people are seeing themselves in the Johnny Depp case. I know a lot of people are very invested in the ultimate outcome of this case. I know a lot of people believe that, if somebody as rich and allegedly powerful as Johnny Depp can fall prey to a siren who charmed him with, her feminine wiles and then used him and abused him and then ruined his reputation, well, what chance do I have, right? And I totally understand why people are connected to this. Like I've said in previous videos, a lot of this sounds very much like stuff that happened to a friend of mine. And we get into this issue with prolonged abuse of abused people make really bad witnesses. Their sense of time is thrown off. Their moments of understandable anger where they say stuff that sounds horrible out of context because they're trying to reclaim their dignity. And I think, men who are abused do this more obviously, but there's elements of women who are victims of abuse that it crosses over, right? It has that in common. And to me, seeing this, that's a lot of those outbursts, a lot of the rhetoric Johnny Depp used talking about his relationship was used against him in the case, which, like I said, you could get to this decision without going there. And this is why I question the judge's reasoning, even if I may not, even if I don't dispute the outcome. I think perhaps this was the correct decision in this case on free speech grounds. The Sun tabloid who wrote this story didn't have access to all the stuff that came out of trial. Was enough of what they were saying true to on balance of probabilities, right? Because nobody was ever charged with anything. What they did was legal. Now, was what they did moral? They're a tabloid. Of course not. And this is not the reason I've been talking on Twitter a lot about what's legal versus what moral, but it certainly lumps into this. It seems to the theme for the week. So like I said, I know a lot of people are really invested in this case. This case, no matter what happens in Virginia, is not going to give you the closure, is not going to make you feel any less taken advantage of. If it comes out that, Johnny Depp was a horrible dirtbag, I don't believe that. Whether Amber Heard is ever exposed to be all the horrible things that people claim she is, it's not going to change your situation. Now, I do really take issue with the oversimplification of addiction that this judge used. A lot of the decision hinges on the fact that Johnny Depp said he doesn't recall a particular conversation. The judge, instead of going, okay, that means it didn't happen because he remembers others, the judge took a leap that Johnny Depp got so drunk and stoned sometimes that he didn't remember what he was doing. He just blacked out. He had no memory of it. That's counter to Johnny Depp's actual testimony about the worst, the one where he cut his finger. And I'll spare you guys gory details because it probably like violates YouTube standards. But Johnny Depp claims he remembers all of it, that all of his actions were deliberate. He knew exactly what he was doing. And that's where I question the judge's logic here. That the idea Johnny Depp is, for all intents and purposes, a functional addict. He's hooked on drugs. He falls into relapse. Addicts do lie. It's part of it. Addicts do, over time, lose connection to ideas of morality. Addicts do manipulate. There's also a bunch of addicts who have gone through recovery, and even when they do relapse, that's not necessarily the case. And, while Johnny Depp clearly has deep, deep trouble with addiction, he's not like the average person who runs out of a supply and runs out of money and has to start doing horrible things to feed their addiction, right? He's got somebody brought him the damn drugs, right? Somebody's bringing him the damn booze. And that's, I think, what this whole thing glosses over and does so unfairly. That this narrative of Johnny Depp being a predator or the aggressor and Amber Heard being a poor defenseless victim, I find it cartoonishly oversimplified. Any thinking person goes, this relationship was bad. They were bad for each other. A guy doesn't just, if he did become violent, which I admit, even reading this brief, I'm still not convinced. The number of times I went through it and it's like, okay, I see the judge's reasoning. Huh? What? And unfortunately, if you draw a judge that either has intense bias against addicts because they have one in their family that they have a bad experience with, or they only have sort of a base level of addiction and not a deeper element of it. And then when you combine addiction and abuse, I see where people make the leap of, I believe he was capable of violence, therefore I think he was violent. I guess I'm in a unique group that I've dealt with enough men who have been legitimately abused. And I'm just taking their word for it. I mean that there are people that I got a call. Can you please come down? Can you be a witness to these injuries? I want to go have them documented. That's what I mean. But the anger, the moments of anger, and the scary language that comes out of someone fighting for their dignity, fighting for their sense of who they are, can be quite scary. And do I believe that Amber Heard was legitimately afraid for her life at times. As remember, I said that very specific statement says, yeah, I believe that. I believe she was very frightened because she needled him too hard, hit a soft spot, got a reaction she didn't intend, and got frightened. I absolutely believe that part because those trauma rages are frightening. But there is a barrier that no matter how violent the rhetoric is, people don't actually cross that line to doing it. Someone saying they want to do it and someone actually doing it, obviously, right? One provides evidence to the other, but there's no guarantees. That's a big Rubicon to cross. And I just know that I have had really tough discussions with friends I support. Tough love times going, you have to stop talking like that in ways that people can document because the person abusing you can effectively use that against you. And they don't like it when I do that. But things like this are precisely why I do it. I get that they don't mean it in the way that it seems to a third party. But it's how it looks to a third party. I mean, part of psychological abuse is turning the target into their own worst enemy, right? And there's a huge amount of that online. There's a huge amount of that in gaming. There are people that I talk to, I know their history. I know at their core they're good people. They mean well. And then every so often they do something. And it's that problem. It's that line of, I think you're okay, but this is not okay. This is not behavior that I can condone. Let's get that straight right now. And you have to be quite firm. And people, especially people coming back from addiction, they have very fragile, if remotely formed senses of self. And they have a really hard time distinguishing between you did a bad thing and you are a bad person. It can be rough. I don't think the people around Johnny Depp, because he was famous and because, you know, people were either on his pay. It's almost a Michael Jackson thing all over again, right? Like, these guys are surrounded by people, but they seem very much alone. And it's that dehumanization angle of Hollywood and people thinking that because people have all this money and all this fame that they must feel validated and beloved, and the reality is the exact opposite. You know, game dev is way more validating than television ever was, because with game dev, you know, you write something and you create, say, a branching narrative that actually loops properly, right? That isn't broken. Even before you talk about whether the dialogue is good or not, you made that thing. It's not broken. It's subjective, right? You completed the branches in a way that didn't just bork all over the place. You can build up those achievements and go, I am objectively capable of doing this. With television, what makes a good or bad actor, what makes a good or bad show, so much of it is so subjective. And it's a giant popularity contest and Q scores and branding and all that stuff. It's dehumanizing as anything, and I don't miss it at all. And it's funny when people try to lecture me about the entertainment industry. These people have never been in it, and I have, and it's just kind of like, oh, you know, please do fuck off. But it eats you. And I want to be clear. Do I think Johnny Depp is totally blameless in this whole thing? No, he's responsible for his own sobriety, right? He clearly relapsed. He clearly caused a lot of property damage. Now, he may have had help in that, most likely have help in this. I don't believe for a second that she's just some squeaky clean innocent victim. I don't buy that at all. I think the judge engaged in a lot of stereotypes in that regard because like he's older. She's 35 years old. You know, that's not a child anymore. And she has her own career. She's not financially dependent on him. I personally believe after a certain point, there's too much of an age gap. I know situations where it's worked, but guys, I'm not speaking on behalf of, oh, the woman's so mistreated, you know. Guys, I get that it's this ego boost to get attention from much younger women. Please, if you want to avoid situations like this, stick to people closer to your own age because what they're looking for from the relationship and what you're looking for from the relationship are likely more compatible than somebody young enough to be your daughter. I'm not saying that as a moral judgment. I don't even remember anymore, but there's more than a 10-year age gap between my husband and I. But 10 years and 20 years, I mean, there was a sizable age gap. There's an even larger age gap between my parents. It happens. However, I'm not young enough to be my husband's daughter, though apparently I look at because some repairman back in the day asked, and it was friggin' creepy. But that's besides the point. We do have to start having serious conversations about predatory behavior works. What do I mean by that? Look how long Harvey Weinstein got away with what he did. Look how long Kevin Spacey got away with what he did, right? And it wasn't that people didn't know. People knew. There was either nothing they could do or people were too afraid, right? We are in a culture where people are just too vulnerable. And that is because we are losing the real meaningful connections between people because everything is a transaction. The amazing thing about gaming is you can actually find people who they don't know you that well, but they actually give a shit about you as a person, and they will tell you straight when they think you're fucking up. They may be wrong, but they will give you the dignity of telling you. I mean, there was a situation on my Twitch community where we have somebody who's this massive Assassin's Creed fan, and she said she, you know, wasn't sure she was going to have the money to buy the game at launch, and everybody in the community was basically like, whoa, no, this is not happening. You're getting this game one way or the other. Now, do people have personal relationships with her? No. And no, they were not trying to get in her pants. Like, that's not, it's just, you're a gamer, I'm a gamer. This needs to happen, right? That's gaming. That's the gaming community I know, right? And those connections, just you matter as a person connection. I don't know you from fuck all, right? But you matter as a person. That's the sort of thing I see in gaming communities way more frequently than I see anywhere else I've ever been to, including religious communities. I'm not kidding. That giving, that givingness of spirit, pardon the bad grammar, is unique. So please join us on Twitch. Please reach out in other ways. Please validate that if you're a gamer, there are other gamers who give a crap about you as a person. Take all the other garbage that I will get into tomorrow, and take that to heart. Take that to heart, because we have to stop making people so vulnerable to isolation and predation to the point that they start harming themselves, and then the system can't help them because they're too compromised. We need to, anyone we can pull back from that brink is a success. We can't save everyone. We can save some people. And please, you're worth saving. So I'll wrap up here. Tomorrow, I will not be covering the election. Like I said, this is a gaming channel. We'll probably be talking about it Twitch on Thursday. But tonight, Twitch as well. Remember, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. And I know this was heavy, but thanks for watching.